Good afternoon. How's
I can't
it
hear
going?
you. Oh, okay. I can hear you.
Can you hear? Okay, yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, that's good. Welcome to this session, which is part of the Global Entrepreneurship Week. It's great to see you. You look like you've had great lunch.
Yes. But I had meetings throughout lunch.
Oh, wow. We call that work, right?
True.
Just to warn you, yeah, just warn you that we are live. We are just waiting for other two colleagues to join.
Okay.
I don't know if they're experiencing internet issues, but yeah, we've had a beautiful thing. I mean, we started off with German ambassador and
You know what, Avia? I need my internet connection. Just wait. I need to change. Okay. Let me just change. I think this one is you are going to break up. We are waiting for who?
yeah, I think I'm just asking my team to check if in the backstage the other two speakers need to be added. So,
Okay.
but I think we can get started. They will find us on the way. Anyway, like I said, everybody, good afternoon. Welcome to the third session of the Global Entrepreneurship, which is running from 16 to 22nd November. More than 180 countries. This is the Botswana version of this. We have more than 40,000 events happening globally. The idea really is to talk around this thing called entrepreneurship. And we've selected thought leaders from the ecosystem in Botswana and beyond to try to help us we formed a discussion about probably the launch of a tech startup ecosystem in Botswana. So I had the privilege to invite Melepata Mafa, who I know for many years. We know each other as you know, support gender affairs. I don't know if she still remembers our picture in 2018. Francis Town, thing, today we are here. I've invited her to chat with her because me and her, we always have this random calls and chats. And I said to her, look, Orange has been doing this thing called the Orange Prize for Africa through their foundation. They've also been supporting a couple of startups, SMEs, basically as a telco. And I thought we could have a conversation with her about really what the telco is doing to contribute towards building startups. Then secondly, we could also ask her to tell us why city-centric, why a lot of people that build startups are mainly based in cities and towns. So she will be joined by two other colleagues, one colleague, Angela from Germany, and also we will have our colleague, Emmanuel from Utopia, based in Nigeria, and he will talk about it. So, Melepata, let me give the floor over to you. There's no structured agenda. The idea is to have a conversation, and it's been live streamed. We hope your team has done the part to make sure that this is being live streamed. Melepata.
Okay, good afternoon to everybody. Yes, we've known each other for a while. We always meet with Tekere amongst the startup ecosystem in Botswana. My full name is Lepata Mafantomola. I'm Director of Legal and Corporate Affairs at Orange Botswana. Entrepreneurship for me, it's a topic that I've been dealing with for a while now. I've dealt with it on the side of women, on the side of the youth. So it's something that I believe that in Africa, it's quite important because we have a lot of young people who still need opportunities. We have women who need opportunities simply because some of them have not had the opportunity to find formal employment. Some of them have not had the opportunity also for studies. So we really need to build the startup ecosystem. So in Botswana, as a company that operates in this ecosystem, Orange Botswana, we've been trying to build the culture of entrepreneurship, the culture of startup in Botswana. We have mainly done that through our support. And support here, our support has been different. We support startups through competitions where we have the Orange Social Venture Prize, which is open to all Orange affiliates, and Botswana participates. So this is how we meet potential startups. And then we have our IP is open to all startups. So with these two programs, we can partner with startups to connect through our network. It's, of course, most young people will say, okay, how is this? How do I enter? When is this available? When you say your IP, you can connect to the Orange Open IP. How do I do that? I'll take you through the different programs. Because we do have successful startups that we have partnered with through this. So it's not something that is new. Orange Social Venture Prize, this is an annual competition that is open across Africa, including Botswana. We've recently had the competition. We've then entered those who won in Botswana into the international competition. So the winner does not only have an opportunity to work with Orange Botswana, they can actually work with the group. This is how open the competition is. But for those who win in Botswana, we work with them because remember, when you enter these competitions, you only have an idea. We then work with you to say, then, how do you monetize this idea? How do you bring your idea to life to make it into a business? This is one of the areas where really in a country we need to focus on to help young people to commercialize their ideas. And as Orange Botswana, we focus a lot on that to say, how do we help young people to commercialize their idea? We help you technically to build your idea to make sure that you are able to connect to our network. So we have the financials, the technical support, and then we help you with marketing. We actually help those who are able to assist, to select through the Orange Social Venture Prime, to commercialize. We will, once you technically you are successful, we market for you. We will market your startup for you. And also by doing that, we also help you commercially, building monetizing your idea, because sometimes, yes, it's a good idea. Technically, it can work, but how do you make money? So your business model, we help you to come up with something that you can actually live on or you can rely on. So we'll help you to build a business model where you can make money. We have been doing this now for, since 2011. So for us, it's now something that we have perfected over the years. But I have to admit, to transcend from idea to business, it takes a lot. And this is where sometimes we find a lot of startups, they give up along the way. You win, you get the money, and you say, working on the technical aspect, working on the commercials takes a lot of energy. So we help you to have that consistent energy to say, yes, eventually it will make money, because startups don't make money just when they start. So we have been doing that on with some of the startups that we've entered into contract with. But also, if you have content, startups that have content and they just want to connect to our network, we do have them, even though we don't select them through the Orange Social Venture Prize. So for us, it's yes, when we connect with you to say, okay, I have content that I want to distribute. How do I connect to your network? We will work with a startup to be able to do that. And some of the startups that we have countrywide, we have sourced them that way. We have those that we work with them because of the Social Venture Prize. There is a startup called Connexus. We have partnered with them to deliver a mobile education platform called Atlega. They were the winners of our Social Venture Prize in 2016. We worked with them to develop their product, and now it's doing really well. They have more than 100,000 subscribers locally. And, this is a small startup, started with 2 or so people. Now they have more than 10 people, you see. So the support that telcos give to startup can actually result in business. We also have worked with Brastone. I don't know if Martin will join us. Yes, this is one of the companies that we started with in terms of connecting to our network. They distribute content, Damposa, Emagri. So we've partnered with them, and right now they're doing really well. But they did not come through the Orange Social Venture Prize, but we've partnered with them in terms of marketing. So we help them to market. So these are some of the startups which we have supported as Orange Botswana. And we believe in terms of the whole ecosystem, you need to have corporates that can commit to support the startups, whether it's finance, whether it's marketing, whether it's technical, because the challenges are diverse. Huh? So you need corporates that can assist you with the different aspects of the ecosystem. I think in a nutshell, that's more or less what we've done over the years.
Well, I mean, well, thank you very much. It doesn't sound like new science for somebody that knows Orange. I mean, Orange has over 30,000 likes on Facebook, 30 million, yeah. And also I picked that they actually have been walking the talk. If you study what the social venture prize for Africa is, it's just not a Botswana-based prize. I mean, I know in West Africa, East Africa, this is where a lot of entrepreneurs have pivoted to really scale. I'm very curious though, outside the story of Brastone. For those that don't know Brastone, Martin Stimel, I had actually invited him, but he apologized late last night, although he had accepted that he felt that we should give the new babies being Atleha the platform. But it was too late to sort of reach out to them. But if you study generally as a startup, for those that don't know, I mean, it's one of the most successful agri-tech startups that ever came out of Botswana. And the story really links together with Orange in terms of the process of really technical support, marketing support, scaling support. And as far as I know, also like, you know, mAgri has really done well in West Africa, leveraging the Orange network. And I'm keen on really why then, if Orange has done such a story, because we always believe that startups are not these things that are built so that they can only be seen in Gaborone. They should exponentially grow and they should disruptively find themselves in markets that otherwise people are not thinking about. Like, for example, I know Martin is doing business in Ethiopia. He's now trying to do DRC. And this is a Motswana who started a company here, and his numbers are quite impressive. So I'm keen to say, based on those lessons, and we have a success story, and it's coming out of a very small city like this, which has 1 people, but the startup are working in multi-million, 60 million, 80 million people. What lessons do we take on a blueprint in terms of the ecosystem, you know, to say this is how a corporate should build the KPIs around supporting startups? It's not all about putting out maybe say a media article on the newspaper and saying, oh, we've worked with this guy, or calling me or any other startup into your office and then not doing the last mile, as you said. So what lessons does the rest of corporate take from Orange, particularly on these steps that you've spoken about, Lepata? I mean, it's key that people know this, that when we speak about these type of companies that you guys are enabling, this is not a guy and putting them in a bag and then selling them. This is a guy packaging something digitally and using the 40 million people that are subscribing to the Orange to sell. It's basically user centric. And I think this is a lot of our players that are in the ecosystem miss it in terms of really making sure that we can measure the sort of startups based on users and on people, whether people are paying for the service. So maybe you could shed light on that while I ask my team to also get the other speakers who are on the backstage into the front.
Thank you. Actually, that's a good point. It's the only thing that limits us in Africa. It's our mind. There's nothing that limits you in terms of penetration. You need to have a business that is scalable. And this is one of the things that we've realized with Martin Stimela. His business is scalable. You know, you start in Botswana, you can replicate the same business in DRC, you can replicate the same business in Guinea. So you need scalability. So when we support startups, we need to first ask, is this thing scalable? And scalable sometimes in Botswana, it also means it's not only available, but it's available in Gaborone. It can be available outside of Gaborone city. So these are some of the things that we need to consider when we support startups. And as a telco company, that is the kind of exposure that we'll give you. We have customers across the whole country in Botswana. That means when we partner with you, automatically we give you access to these customers, the more than 1 million customers that we have. That is the first thing. Second, because Orange Botswana is part of a group, it means that we also expose you to our Okay, I think I'm back. Okay, as I was saying, exposure. As Orange Botswana, we are part of the group. So when we partner with a startup, we also prioritize exposing the startup to our group. That is one of the things that we did with Martin Stimela in terms of when there are expositions, we will partner with him so that he attends the expositions, the international expositions, so that he can meet some of the Orange affiliates. So exposure into our affiliates internationally, scalability, and also what we've learned is, you know, content. The beauty about content is that you can sell it across borders. It's not the same as maybe something physical. The same content you have locally, you can sell in another country. So when it comes to ICT, we find that startups, it's easier to scale up because you don't have physical merchandise. Another startup that we have that I spoke about, Connexus, you don't know, it's owned by Melissa Tafila. She's going to do exactly the same thing. She's on the education side. And what we are trying to do now with the group is to say, yes, we have somebody who's done this in Botswana. How can we replicate the same thing in other affiliates, English-speaking affiliates? So for us, we found that content is really something that is easy to transcend borders. That's something that you can sell across borders. That's the third thing. The other thing is you need to know your market. The marketing part, unfortunately, the sponsors may not necessarily work with you to say, okay, there's a market here, there's a market there. As a startup, you need to know where the market is. What is your target market? Am I targeting young people? Am I targeting farmers? You see, so you need to do market research. So based on what we've learned is that market research is important. Not just any content will be scalable. So some content is scalable. When you talk about farming, in all the countries. Farming is important. So if you have that kind of content, then it's easy for you to scale up. You talk about education, you talk about commerce. You see, so those kind of topics are easy to sell across. So those are some of the startups that are successful. We realized that they were able to focus on something that each country would want to have. So it's not only specific to Botswana. We may, yes, have the same interest, but it's something that we can sell across the borders. So I think maybe the last lesson that we've learned also from our interaction with Brastone, it's also the tenacity. You know, when you want something bad enough, you will have takers. He is a hard worker. He has been able to shape our internal processes. When he wants something and believes in something, he's able to convince us to support him. Same thing as we've seen with Melissa Tafila, in terms of being tenacious to really develop her application to where it is now. These are people who will have sleepless nights working on their business. And they believe that this is a business. They don't treat this as a part-time, something they do some other time. So they sleep and breathe their business and they believe in it. So it's easy for corporates really to believe in this business because the owners are quite persistent in their business. I think that.
Yeah, well, I mean, to just give you evidence, I mean, one of the. Yeah, I was just gonna say for those points, I like them personally because I can correlate to what you're saying. I see one of the chats here from Remuluki Ludo. He says that the Orange Social Venture Prize in 2019 was critical to their startup's journey, where they ultimately launched and they created a CubeSat to space. It's an exciting project, and I think they're still working on it. So, I mean, these are stories that I don't read about every day in the ecosystem, and I'm really, I think, keen on really us creating a dialogue where people understand about that it's not that you wake up in the morning and you create something like mAgri, or you create something like Atleha, or you create something like Mpotsa. It's a process of getting help, and I think that help comes from both the founders, tenacity as you call it, but it also comes from the corporate expertise, blending that together, therefore making success. So how come I'm putting you on the spot because I really want us to come out with a solution together on this, to say, how come you don't then create a space where every month, you could get, Bo Martini Baleteni, Bo Atleha Baleteni, trying out, because you say this is a process of iteration, of resource leveraging. Because I mean, I understand like the whole process of where do these people, how do you find these people? How does Martin find Orange, or Orange finds Martin, or Atleha finds Orange? How does the process happen? Is it because I'm based in a city and I've solved a problem that you guys have? I'm thinking Kiko Kasani, and I want to be able to say, le nna ke batla go tshwana le Mpotsa kana ke tshwane le Atleha. And what's the onboarding process? Where do I meet Orange? I mean, this is what I think Motswana Welongore is an entrepreneur right now. He's probably saying, okay, yeah, great conversation, great insights. But besides the social venture prize, what's the onboarding process? Is it at the ideation stage, pre-seed, scale up? Where do you guys pick the entrepreneur? And if it's not you guys, lebata guys, so that we know where's the pipeline?
Currently, on the social venture prize, that's the easier part because you then advertise to say, okay, apply for this, enter this. So it's easy for people to see it. And the adverts will be on our social media, on newspapers. But you are raising an important point to say, but on a day-to-day basis, because we still do business with other startups, how do you contact us? How do you even know who to contact at Orange Botswana? Because we have allowed this to be, you contact us, you send maybe a letter, you call us. That's how we have been doing it. So I must admit, it's not structured to say that maybe in, let's say in Kasane, you are in Kasane, it will be easy for you to say, okay, this is where I'll find the Orange department that deals with startups, because it's mainly in Gaborone. So we do lack that part to say then how do we ensure that those who are out of Gaborone are in touch with us when it's not the social venture prize. Because with the social venture prize, yes, we do make infrastructure available to say, no, you email or you go to our shop. But I must say, because for us, it's we would rather support a structure in place to say, okay, as a structure, we will be able to go outside Gaborone to get startups and for us to be able to support them. Simply because, as I said, because we are a telco company, we do have our own focus area, which is mainly on the telco side, on ensuring that we have network and you see. But we believe that maybe for the startup ecosystem to really grow in the country, we would have to partner with structures that are specifically meant to organize the startups themselves, so that then we partner with that structure ourselves. Otherwise, we don't have the resources in terms of human resources to be able to have to be in touch with all the startups individually. But if we had somewhere where we would be able to partner with that organization that is responsible for that, it will probably be easier for us, so that, like you're saying, we would have 10 Atlegas, and not only in Gaborone, because most of us, what we've partnered with, are in Gaborone. We would love that, to have Atlegas. They are based, let's say, in Tewani, where I come from, or in Masunga. So you see, we would love to have that. But at the moment, in terms of how we are structured, we don't have the capacity. But if and we have someone who has that capacity, we would rather we support that structure.
Actually, it's interesting that I asked this question because, you know, there's this new world called the internet world. I think people just experienced it during COVID, where they started in that tools like this can be used to transact and communicate. I mean, this is not new stuff that people have been doing for the last 10 years. It's just that maybe it's reaching us in Gaborone now after the lockdown. But that platforms like telcos, they are an enabler for the next frontier of cities. And that's why we invited you on this topic, because there are this new type of cities, which are virtual cities, okay? Where I have to, like, I mean, I know a guy who built an entire mall online without even putting brick in it. And as I speak to you now, I was just going to ask you to say, how many shops does Orange have across the country? Because if we calculate those shops, we could immediately put those on the cloud. And those could immediately start serving as digital accelerators or virtual accelerators. Nobody is going to be going into a physical space that's made with, the old way of building data and accelerator. It's gone, forget it. And And with the aggregation of the 200,000 young people that are unemployed in Botswana, I mean, the challenge would be, look, let's just leverage the infrastructure that you guys have and create a new world where we are saying if you have you can plug into a digital accelerator, a mental advocacy, join like this, and Lepata and her team also create an internal incentive that says mental. So you would Uber basically startups every Friday virtually and give them an hour of your time and tell them like, yeah, you're doing the right thing. And then at the last mile of this, that there's a fund, which is the venture fund, which would now start picking the quality and putting money of validation in this market fit. So I think my colleague Emmanuel, who I invited, will show you what they're doing in Nigeria, where they saw that they're building something called Utopia. Anyway, I'll allow him to come in. He's still on the backstage. He will share with you what they're building. And they've built completely new virtual cities and virtual, where right now, if you're looking for talent, you just go online and you find a culture of software developers, marketers, and then you tell them your idea and help you to bring this idea to life. So I think that's the challenge of this conversation. And the takeaway that I give to you, Lupata, to say we're not gonna ever need to say if you know your network in town, your network works go Matangwai, your network works go Maung, your network works go Kasani or go Pekanakai. Why don't we begin to now really take this message of the new normal a bit more aggressively and say, guys, digitally start creating, you know, I mean, if a platform like this can run for 7 days, like it's going to run for 7 days, and create impact and bring global resources from around the world, impact, what stops us from Gaborone to do it? So I want to challenge you to say, is your team thinking this disruptive? We'll speak about creating more markets and more areas. Or is it an issue of let's find a place in main mall, let's pay rent, then we spend 2 years trying to get there. So, I mean, this is the conversation that I just want to have practically with you to know your practicalities as people who are not doing the talk, but who are actually delivering startups to the market, who are scaling. And these are typical examples.
Interesting point. You know, COVID-19 has really changed our perception of business, of interaction. Recently, I wanted somebody to do just on content. And I had to call different people just to get to know who can do what. And then the question is, why are we still doing things the old-fashioned way, where I can't say, okay, if I'm looking for startups that specialize, like you're saying, software development, content, I just go to the specific city and I say, okay, this is what I want. I think this, after COVID-19, we all have this mindset to say, you know what, we really need to do a 360 in terms of what we are doing and how we are doing things. And I agree with you. We need to challenge ourselves to say we need to change how we use our, especially the telecommunication infrastructure. How do we then ensure that things are convenient? If we have a problem, how do we find problem solvers? Where do we find problem solvers? And we need to build that infrastructure. I'm with you. Probably now as a telco, we are sitting here, we are still doing things to say, okay, we are comfortable with things the way they have been, but we now need to change to how things can be. And sometimes it's when we have conversations like this that a bulb goes off and you say, yeah, right, that is really what we've been looking for. We haven't been able to achieve that. Who can help us to achieve that? So as far as I'm concerned, it's conversations like this need to give us the light to say, where can we go? How can we do things? It's not an issue that we don't want to achieve certain milestones. Sometimes we don't know how. And we need disruptors to give us an indication to say, yeah, you know, you can do this way. And as you said, we've been doing certain things the same way for a while. Look at the social venture prize. It's set the way it has been done. Can we do something different from that? So that throughout the year, it's basically the social venture prize the whole year. You know, we have disruptors who are somewhere, they can contact us as one of the supporters. We are able to go there and say, oh, okay, if we want this, this is where we get it, instead of waiting for a whole year before we get new ideas of how things can be done. So I totally agree with you. There's a need for us to change the way we think. But other than just a need, there's supposed to be an agency in the way we do things. To say, you know, time is not on our side. We really need to radicalize the way we think, the way we want to achieve this change. Like you're talking about shops, how can somebody, you know, how we can use our shops to be able to be used as incubators. But it would mean we need first to go, our shops needs to be on cloud, need to be virtual. And so these are some of the conversations that we need to have to say how we can do that, because we haven't been able to do it. And the question sometimes is, yes, maybe the way we want to do it is complex. Do we have disruptors who can come to us and say, no, how you want to do it is too complex. We can set this up for you in a simpler way. I think that was just...
Look, I'm happy at least, you know, there is interest from you. I missed your last question, Lepata. You were breaking a bit. Did you ask a question before I made insight?
No, I think maybe my last statement was more about how you people to be able to tell us how we can do certain things, because we are doing it probably the most complex because of previous information that we have. So we need disruptors to advise us to say, this is how you can achieve what you want. If you want to partner with startups, this is how you do it. Because at the moment, we have started to imagine how that can be done. Let's see.
Yeah, like I always like to say, Lepata, man, there's no new science in all of this. I mean, just today we learned in India that, you know, in India, if I make a submission to a government department and somebody is supposed to act on it, and then they relax on a proposal, whatever, automatically, if 7 days goes by or 14 days goes by default, if I've not received feedback, it means automatically my proposal is approved. So what I'm saying here is perhaps it's an issue of not asking for resources, because we feel the resources exist. There are corporates like you who have shown the tenacity and the interest. Just an internal issue of mindset. What I see is our people, that's it, both in corporate and in, you know, even in the startup world, they need to see the world the way it is. And what I mean is that I think the world has changed since March. If anybody is still caught up in trying to force to do things the old, I mean, it's no longer normal that you work from 4:30 to to 5:30 and you switch off, and you switch off the whole weekend. I'm saying this because I probably work like 24 hours. I've got guys on my team. I'm working now during the day. The moment I shut down at 6 p.m. because I no longer can do 2 hours, my co-founder picks up at 6 or 7 p.m., works until 5 a.m. So that means our startup or our company is never, it doesn't have like operating hours. We are open for business 24 hours. So this cycle that you have is, let's assume now Orange already has now accelerator or incubator in place in the form of human capital that work in offices every day that get paid salary. Let's also assume that you do have spaces that you could digitally migrate people to. And here I'm talking about the unemployed, into some aggregated platform where they could start tinkering and solving problems, not pitching proposals, but solving problems every week. I mean, on a continuous model. This needs to be a mindset and a culture. Okay. So, and then finally, what we feel, is there to be leveraged is the global experiences. Like I said to you, I mean, if you're looking for a solution for what I'm doing, guys have done in you just need to be paired with a local partner here who would be willing to do the hard work, or then use the global world or the exports around the world toward this new thinking. The time is gone where people still assume you're gonna only innovate for Gaborone, or you're only gonna solve for where you stay. The world is now open. Like with the internet, it's a fair opportunity for everybody else. And Botswana has the greatest advantage, if you ask me. I found out today that there's 4 million mobile cell phones in this country. That means I have 2 phones. Okay, I know I have 2 phones. I have these 2 phones. It's not even a lie. I actually have 3 phones. I mean, look at it. I have 3 phones, 3 cell phones. So, and I'm assuming every other Botswana has the same resources, but we still find ourselves queuing for money, we just like traditional things. So we need an organization that's willing to be contactless. Here I'm saying Orange, for example, should just wake up one morning, or the foundation to wake up one morning and close all its offices and say, no, online, everything, completely, starting from today, everything is online. It's a tough decision to make, because other people who are used to coming to office, their jobs and stuff like that. And what it does is that it doesn't close the opportunity only, but it unlocks opportunity for 100 other young people in Francistown who otherwise would have to come to Gaborone to look for you, or would have to wait for the whole year while developing something that's never going to work. And then you tell them after 1 year or 2 years that, sorry, buddy, that was never the right thing, right? So I think my message here is that, we've got to be really practical about what we want to do, and I think it starts with a champion. And I'm happy that Orange has already been pointed as a champion. Martin was never gonna be successful without Orange. Okay, it's like what I said, another startup, Mabani, the cook-off, that these guys who are doing cooking on Sunday, and I said to them, you have like such an interesting business model, but the problem now is you've started now going the wrong way. Why don't you get corporate expertise, partner with other people, build this thing? Nobody's going to build a successful company alone. It's gone. So we need a champion, champion corporate. And here I'm not talking about somebody in the diamond sector, somebody in the tourism sector. I'm talking about somebody in the emerging new sectors like telcos, who are the baby banks, the new everything, to really set the example. So I don't know, like, whether it calls for the foundation to sit together with business and just do it, and just do it. So I don't know, like, I'm asking team to put in Emmanuel from Utopia, so she can maybe show Lepata what I'm talking about, how they've had cities on the internet. And here I'm talking about putting Gaborone, waking up one morning and putting the entire Gaborone online. It doesn't require government, it just requires, we have infrastructure, we have got phones, we've got people that are smart. What does it need to take people online? People online. It's a mindset. It's just people refusing to use traditional technology. So I don't know if I'm being too radical, but that's the sort of thinking I have. But to know who's willing to come and agree that this doesn't have to be city-centric, this could be done by anybody who if there's fast internet. So, but back to you, Lepata, I asked my team to add Emmanuel to the stage. Yeah, so Lepata, I hope you can hear me. I just wanted your thoughts on those points that I've thrown at you. There are too many, but I think you can handle them.
You know what? It's the lockdowns. Before the lockdowns, I would have said, yes, maybe as Botswana, we are still slow in terms of adopting technology, and we are averse to disruptive thinkers. But we were all surprised in terms of how quickly people really started using technology during the lockdowns. And I don't mean like people in the cities, outside of the cities. So in terms of readiness, the population is ready really to embrace technology in its extreme form. Botswana were able to shop online. For the first time, most of them were able to order things online. And funny enough, the retailers were able to deliver. Before then, it would have been a challenge to say somebody delivers anything to you. It would have taken days and days. And mind you, they're getting all these orders online. It means that as Botswana, we were willing to actually go online and find something that you want. Botswana were able, in terms of banking, in terms of the uptake of banking online, it went through the roof. So, of course, we have this appetite. The appetite is there on the population. The customers are there, literally, for any business in terms of that is technology driven. The customers are there, the appetite is there. It's an issue of making sure that you give the customers what they want. Of course, in terms of organizations, you need organizations now to move towards technology quickly because the customers are ready. Most of the organizations need to say, how do we get this infrastructure to ensure that our customers, wherever they are, they can access us? I honestly believe that in the next years or so, we will see a radical change in terms of how we do business, in terms of how we approach our customers. And in the way, and I don't even think the change is only going to come in from the private sector alone. I think even from the government side, we continue to see the strides in terms of trying to incorporate technology in the way they do things. And sometimes what is not visible to somebody is what is going on behind in terms of modernizing that infrastructure, because that is the first step in terms of modernizing that internet infrastructure, and that is ongoing. Once this is done, we are really going to see a lot of changes in the way government does business. Just this last week on the SONA, in terms of what the president said in terms of digitizing permits. So, and I think a lot of this changes when it comes to the e-transformation is because now from COVID-19, we see that nothing stops your grandmother from applying for a permit online. Just imagine if it was not a COVID issue and you had it before COVID, and you had asked everybody to start applying for anything online, and everybody does it. You know, they find means to do it. But now you find that people are traveling and they have to apply online to get the permits. So I really believe that we are ready for a radical change in terms of thinking when it comes to how we use technology. We are also, as businesses, now ready to change the way we do business. And you have seen businesses that have really embraced technology and used technology to offer their services. They are doing really well. So most of the businesses will need to follow, but we need the small business. The unfortunate part is that small businesses need to be supported to be able to join this bandwagon. Otherwise, what we are going to see is that, yes, the big businesses are going to be able to embrace technology. They are going to offer their services. But the small businesses, we don't see small businesses scaling up to be big businesses until somebody is able to support them. So we need somebody to support the small businesses so that they join in the bandwagon, because time is also sensitive. If the startups don't join at the right time, they will be left behind indefinitely. So now is the right time for us to have that ecosystem where we support the startups to join, because we want to have a situation where only big businesses are successful. This is the time where startups can start, and in a year or two, they're highly successful because they rely on technology to drive their businesses. They don't rely on who knows who to drive their businesses as it was done in the old days. So I believe that we are really at that catalytic point in Botswana where I would say that it's the right time for us to invest in startups. It's the right, if you are trying to go into this type of business, this is the right time, because you have an audience that is just waiting for the next thing that is virtual. Who still wants to be fighting traffic to do stuff? No, nobody wants to do that anymore. So now is the right time for all of us really to build the startup ecosystem and for it to address all our challenges. I think sometimes the problem is not necessarily that the customers are not captive. It's just that probably you bring something that we don't like. So we need to support startups that bring what customers, what consumers need. And then we'll see that in this country, we are really ready and willing to embrace technology.
Well, it looks like an interesting point to take in terms of your readiness to onboard startups, and obviously also your call to action to say, everybody needs to adopt the internet. And I mean, when we say everybody needs to adopt the internet, we are not saying if you already have a cell phone, you can convert it into a resource. It's the next infrastructure, really. I've just asked our colleagues to check if Emmanuel is still having technical issues or if he will join. But anyway, but I was gonna say to you one last question, which I think is very important before we conclude the session. I think you and I have had this talk a lot in over the years that we've known each other. Do you really think we have what it takes to be a startup economy? And if we do, or if we don't, where are the quick wins? What are the 1, 2, 3, 4 things that need to be done immediately? And what would be your call to action if we were to put it so simply?
I really believe, you know, Botswana are strange. We are quick to say we can do something. And then you see us doing exactly the same thing, maybe outside the country. And you say, but these are the same people who have this ability to do this. The reason I'm saying is a lot of people will tell you that e-commerce in Botswana can be successful. And you say, why? You are the same people who are buying outside the country. And so you see, we just lack belief in ourselves and in our people. To say, if it's Mwana Enterprise setting up something that, let's say, an e-store, I will buy in that store the same way that I'll buy from Alibaba. So believing in our people, believing in the capabilities of our own people is really, really important, because we have highly talented young people in this country. I mean, if you look at some of the projects and ideas that they submit, these are highly intelligent young people. What is lacking is supporting them to bring ideas to life. You are not going to spend 24 hours in an idea when you are hungry. This is the challenge. This is why they need support. To say, yes, a lot of them are unemployed, but they have good ideas. But for you to help them is for you to motivate them to say, when that project finishes, there is a reward at the end. You see, when that project starts working, it means that maybe Orange Botswana will use it, and a bank will use it, you see, or we will help you to set up your project so that you can attract customers. What demotivates the youth is that you are unemployed, you don't have the resources that you need, let's say internet, for you to work on your project. So how do you even spend 24 hours when you don't have the basics in terms of surviving just to eat? Now, how do you spend money on trying to build a project? This is why we need to help them in terms of fixing the ecosystem. To say, we have this special category of the youth who are talented but unemployed. How do we help them to ensure that they can find resources? If it's internet that they need, if it's devices that they need, how do we bridge that gap? Once we've done that, it's also to entrepreneurship. Most of us think it's something that you catch from the air. It's not. It's actually a skill. So once we have given them the resources, at least to work on that idea and develop them, is not to teach them how to be businessmen, how to be businesswomen. You know, you find that a lot of young people have very good ideas, but you can never monetize that idea. So they need to separate doing things to feel good or coming up with big ideas that can be monetized. They need to understand that it's a business. The end goal is that when you are able to launch this, it needs to make money. So they need to be taught how to monetize, how to be entrepreneurs. How do you sell your product? Sometimes this is what makes the difference between somebody who has good ideas and somebody who's successful in business. just that you are able to push your business a bit far in terms of sales, marketing, you know. So those are some of the things that we need to have. But in terms of, as a country, our readiness, do we have it in us really to be a startup economy? I believe we have the capability. It's just that we need to close some of the gaps that we have. And we need to believe in our own people. It's funny, when you partner with Orange Botswana, you will get people using your product. But the same person, if you come alone, it takes you longer for you to convince people that what you are giving them is actually quality. So you see, it's an issue of trust. So we need to build that trust on the ecosystem, on the startup ecosystem, so that people can actually trust the startups to say, yes, indeed, when they do this, we know what's coming out is quality. You don't want to support them only when they partner with a big brand. Even on their own, startups on their own in this country, they do quality work. So these are some of the challenges which I think if we can really manage to manage those risks and mitigate those, we can compete with anybody in the world. I mean, we take our startups are competing internationally right now. So we can have 10, 15 of those doing exactly the same thing, but we need to just give them that opportunity and build the right ecosystem. Okay.
That's it from Melepata Mafa from Orange. Thank you very much for making time this afternoon. It's not easy to get a director to come on and support startups, but here it is, it's happening. We also appreciate the sponsorship that you have facilitated through Orange. We understand that you guys have put out a newspaper advert in 2 of the biggest newspapers. We understand also you have committed to providing the internet for the streaming of this event for the next 7 days. We understand you have also committed to ensure that this event is being advertised in all the radio stations. We also understand that you've committed to and here you are. So we want to thank you on behalf of the Global Entrepreneurship Week, that you will keep track of the conversations as they are happening in the next 6 days that are remaining. We also hope that you will recommend to some of your executives and fellow team members at Orange to come in and learn 1 or 2 things about how startups think, the way the companies think and the startups think, their mindset. They need to meet somewhere so that there's a win. Also want to appreciate the fact that you have an example of 2 model companies that you have partnered with, being Brastone, famously known from Pota and I'm Angry, and also their new app called Be Safe, which I think a lot of people don't know about. But also mentioning Baatlega, Rataleka Horika, Tumeze, Mohobone, Rutor Gomang, Bairang. We really appreciate Orange coming in. And we challenge you finally, Melepata, before you go, Hore. We have put it out that there's a need for a virtual accelerator that leverages your existing resources, human capital, and also infrastructure to create a cloud-based accelerator that can onboard the talent in Botswana to create this new mindset. So we will be conversing with you from here about trying to bring this idea to life, because ultimately it benefits the thousands of Botswana that sit Komatangwani, Kopalape, Kokasani, and so on. So on behalf of the Global Entrepreneurship Week, I want to thank you and ask you to give your last words of goodbye. Then we will end the session.
It's always a pleasure to interact with startups, mainly because we've been doing this for some time. And for us, we really believe that as a country, we are ready in terms of startup culture. And we believe that we should be part of the conversations. And this is why I'm here today. And to support Wana Enterprise, knowing that you've really been part of this ecosystem for some time, and we have all these things because you are really dedicated and ensure that we have access, and the youth have access to some of this information. I will definitely talk to my team in terms of how we can make more people available so that they try to understand what really happens on the ground in terms of startup thinking, in terms of startup support that is needed. But thank you for inviting us, for making us part of this. We appreciate that as well. Okay.
Ale, thank you very much. The session will now end.